Warning, this podcast contains alcohol and reference to alcohol. You must be at least 21 years of age to watch or listen.
Welcome to Holladay Happy Hour, presented by the Holladay Distillery in Weston, Missouri. I'm Jordan, and today I'm on the couch with Danielle, otherwise known as CoffeeBlackWhiskeyNeat. She has flown in from South Carolina to hang out with us today, just to be on Holladay Happy Hour. No, just kidding. That's a terrible joke. I need to stop using that one. Yeah, just for that. No, we have a fun, full weekend planned. She actually has not been to the distillery yet, so we're going to do that later. And then show her around Kansas City, show her around Weston. But we thought, what a great way to get to know each other than just sit down, have a drink, and chat a little bit. So I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Yes. So I just kind of want to start. So CoffeeBlackWhiskeyNeat, when did you start this brand, this passion of yours? When did you start posting on Instagram? What did that process look like?
It started probably about 2019. And it was honestly just a random spur of the moment decision to start it. There was no planned out process. There was no game plan here, anything like that. But you know, every woman that's ever ordered whiskey before has had a mansplaining moment. Mm-hmm. And I had my mansplaining moment. And so that night I went home and I said, you know what? I have to find other people that drink whiskey. I don't want to feel like I'm a crazy person thinking that this is a common occurrence, you know. I feel like there has to be other women specifically, but just other people in general that are enjoying whiskey. And at that time, I obviously didn't know a lot of people, so I started the Instagram page, and I started it as my kind of like stick it to the guy with a bottle of Booker's, because that's what I had ordered that night. And that guy will never know that story, but you know, to me it was like, yes, I got him. I'm going to start with this.
That's awesome.
So as odd as that is, but yeah, so I started it that way, and I just said, I'm just going to go out there and post bottles that I enjoy, and it's just kind of blown up from there. I think timing is everything, and hitting it pre-COVID and going through the whole process of people being on social media and people looking for reviews, it just kind of timed out the right way. I think that in that sense I got lucky. You know, obviously it's a passion. It's something I put a lot of time and effort into, don't get me wrong, but you know, you can't fake the timing there. So that definitely helped, and I just found that I really enjoy sharing tasting notes. I was a teacher before this, and so you know, I was never a history teacher, don't get me wrong. I was science and math. And so I have a love for like the science behind it all. And I said, well, what is it that I can do? Well, I can't teach the history behind the bottles. I can't remember the 18,000 different family stories behind every single brand. But what I can do is share what I taste. And that's something that I felt like was valuable for me when I was looking for bourbon recommendations was, you know, is this going to fit my flavor profile? If somebody is saying that it's really spicy, well, I probably won't like that as much. If somebody's saying it has a lot of red fruit notes, well, I gravitate towards that. So I wanted to share that same thing that I felt helpful when I was going through the process of trying to try new whiskeys.
That's great, because I think in 2019, too, a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but that wasn't as prevalent. Like, there weren't as many people out there reviewing as openly and really making that like a focus.
Right.
So it's important that people had somewhere to go, and yeah, that's a great place to start.
And I think a lot of people say yes or no, and there's so much benefit in that if you trust somebody's palate. Do you like it? Do you not like it? But I do think it's also hard to know where their palate aligns with yours. Yeah. So for me, it was more important to share the flavor notes versus just, yes, I love this, or no, I don't.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, too, as a fellow woman who drinks whiskey, it's nice to have somebody that you can relate with, too. Like, I might be more likely to go to your page and maybe relate with something you said over somebody else, or just if, as people, especially women getting into whiskey, it can be intimidating.
It can.
So,
and
yeah.
It's definitely, it's opened up a lot since when I started, but it was definitely a man's world. So it's been a fun journey to kind of see so many more women getting into it, and I love to try to make people not feel intimidated by it, whether you're a woman or not. I don't think whiskey should be intimidating to anybody.
I agree. Yeah, it's a very special spirit that can be enjoyed by anybody, and yeah, it can open up a lot of connections, and you can try a lot of great things.
There's so much great whiskey out
Yes,
there. I mean,
so much great whiskey.
yes.
Which leads me to one of my next questions: is there is so much great whiskey out there? Like, how do you choose what you're going to talk about or what you're going to post, or is it what you like?
So
mostly?
when I go to review a whiskey, every bottle that I open, I film. And it is what do I think of it? And sometimes I will take a sip and say, let's cut this tape. We're not doing this one. And it's not to say that that brand is not for somebody, because in this industry, somebody likes the whiskey. That's why it's being made. That's why it's being put out there. And I am not a person to sit there and act like I know everything and nobody should taste this, because I don't think that's fair. And I think this is somebody's livelihood and this is somebody's passion for them. Who am I to say you shouldn't buy this bottle, or this bottle is a drain pour, or whatever it may be? So for me, every bottle gets opened that way, and when I find something I really want to share, or I find a tasting note that, whether I love it or not, I just feel like it's something unique, then those are the reviews that I'm going to do. And other ones I might just say, hey, I'm just going to do a photo of this. And for any brand that I've just done a photo of, that does not mean I did not like your whiskey. To be clear, you can't review all of that.
Right, disclaimer.
Yes. And, sometimes you have family interruptions too, and so sometimes that might just turn into a photo later on and not a review. But for the most part, is there something about the bottle that I really want to say?
Okay. Like something that sticks out to you that maybe you want other people to maybe look for and relate to.
And let's be honest, most people are not reading text because we don't have the patience to read anymore, which is kind of a sad thing to say, but it's kind of true, right? Like, people want attention-grabbing things. So I want to say, these bottles, I have something that I really do want to share. And so that's why I do a review on those.
Whenever you're doing a review, do you find, is it blind? Like, when you open the bottle, that's your first sip?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, I have opened the bottle before and been like, I just said, bin Holladay, right? Like, who knows what that is that you're saying? So it's not to say that everything is one take and it's perfect.
Right.
That's an ideal world and what we idealize on social media, but that's not real. But yeah, for the most part, everything it's the first sip. And here we go. Sometimes it's like, oh, I poured some in that glass and I got nothing. Push that aside and let's just try again.
Yeah.
But if you open a bottle and you're filming for 30 seconds, you can't be like, nobody wants to watch that. So yeah, you have to be ready to do it too. You have to be in the right mindset for it.
You have to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're the same way, but I take my first drink, and what I get in the first drink versus like the third, fourth, I say drink, sip. It's like, it's very different, it's like, it changes. I feel like the more that you really like think about it and you nose it, and it just changes.
I think that's what makes it fun though.
Yeah.
I'll post a review and it's the first sip of what I've had sometimes, but it doesn't mean, I don't want to go back and revisit that. And a month later, I might be like, that is a totally different flavor profile than when I posted. It doesn't mean the first flavor profile was wrong. And you can make the argument of, is there a neck pour or not a neck pour, all you want, but at the end of the day, what you're eating and where you are and all of the situation around you is also going to change the way something tastes. So every time you pour it, it's going to be a little bit different.
Well, and really what matters is, do you like it or do you not like it?
Yes.
Is it for you? Is it not for you? So when it comes down to it, I think that's what's really important. So speaking of what you like and what you don't like, you obviously like coffee.
Yes.
So can we talk about coffee a little bit? So you drink your coffee black.
Yes.
Okay. So did your love for coffee come before bourbon? Is that something you've always enjoyed?
So I was give me all the cream and all the sugar in my coffee before. Mm-hmm. I was a Red Bull fanatic or a Monster, or high school me had a Pop-Tart and an energy drink for breakfast. Like, we were not living our best life there. But when I graduated college, my father-in-law said to me, if you ever want to be taken seriously in this world, you drink your coffee black. And to this day, he has no recollection of ever telling me that. But for some reason, that just really stuck with me. And I said, okay, I'm going to learn to drink my coffee black. And now I cannot drink it any other way.
Okay.
And it has just become such an appreciation for the flavor profiles. And so much has changed from gas station coffee with cream and sugar to, all the different processing and all the different beans and the roast levels. And I mean, the craft coffee world is very similar to the craft whiskey world in the sense that it is blowing up and there are so many different experiences going on with it. And I think there's similar flavor profiles too. Generally speaking, if you taste red fruit and you love it in a whiskey, well, if you taste red fruit in a coffee, you're probably going to like that too. That just means you like that flavor profile. And I think that's where my love of coffee has really grown as well. And now, obviously, there's all the connections with doing the barrel-aged coffees and things like that. But for me, just give me a nice light roast, natural process cup of coffee, and I am good to go.
Light roast. That was going to be my next question. So what's your go-to? So that's what you make at home is a good light roast.
I do like the light roast better. I am not a huge espresso person. I am not, the bolder the better. I guess in a way I'm more the caffeine the better because light roast coffees have more caffeine in them, but not necessarily by choice. I just think that flavor profile fits me better. And I think kind of the natural process allows more of like a creamy mouthfeel, and you get those tropical notes in your coffees and things like that I really enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, I respect that 100% because I'm the same way. I used to drink a ton of cream.
Yes.
But I also kind of relate it to when I started drinking bourbon neat because I used to be really scared of that. And I'll be honest, I was very intimidated. But once I started really getting into the flavors, same thing with coffee, like you said. So don't be scared to drink your coffee black, people.
There's a lot of crossover. You gotta try it. And try good coffee. Don't just try gas station coffee.
Yeah, gosh, we've had a lot of conversations about gas station coffee, haven't we, Brendan? It's kind of a running joke around here over the years. Whenever they were doing bourbon launches around the state or wherever they were at, they would just stop at every gas station and get the worst coffee they could get, but they just thrived on it because that's what they had. But totally non-related and really doesn't matter. But relate back to Holladay Happy Hour. What year is it? 2023, and you'll hear a lot about gas station coffee. So
perfect.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bourbon and tasting and all of that good stuff, you are personally more of a you like to drink more of like a rickhouse proof. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about what that looks like as far as the higher proof flavors and what you prefer on that side.
So I have always kind of gravitated towards having my whiskey neat. I was never a cocktail person. Still am just not a huge cocktail person. I mean, I had Jack and Cokes way back when, but otherwise I've always just kind of liked it neat better. And I think it's very easy if you're the type of person that likes to have water in your whiskey. It's very easy to water down, barrel strength, cask strength, whatever you want to call it, rickhouse proof. But you can never proof it up. So I like to try it at what it is. I like to see it, how it comes out of the barrel. I like to have the full kind of natural experience with it. And then, from there you can decide, does it need ice? Does it need water? Does it go better in a cocktail? But personally, I just want to see what it is at its truest form.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that because that's where you get the most flavor and then you can go from there.
Yeah.
So if you were going to, if you're not reviewing and it's just like a nice, hot, humid, 90-degree day in South Carolina, just like today, would you be more likely to pour a neat bourbon to sip on, or would you put it on ice? Like, what would be your go-to just for enjoyment, not reviewing?
I'm still always going to be a neat fan, and it's not a pretentious thing, and I think sometimes it comes across that way. It's just, that's how I enjoy it. I like my coffee hot. If it's 100 degrees, I still want my coffee hot.
Yep.
You like things a certain way. For me, it is just neat. And put it in a Glencairn, that's my drink or my glass of choice. Like, there are tons of nice glasses. There's tons of fancy glasses, but give me a $2 glass and I'm happy, you know? Like, you like it a certain way, and that is nostalgic to me, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so speaking of bourbon and all of that, what do you feel like sets bourbon apart from whiskey? So do you feel like you review more bourbons, whiskeys, both? Like, what do you typically go towards when you're doing reviews?
I would say I review more bourbons.
Okay.
I think that being in the United States, it's more popular, obviously, to have bourbon. I also think, though, when I got into the world of whiskey, I fell in love with bourbon. You know, I tried Scotch originally, and now I have a huge appreciation for Scotch and for Irish and Japanese and so on and so forth. But I fell in love with bourbon. And so to me, it's like, stay where your passion is and then grow from there.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. I'm with you there. Bourbon is obviously. Yeah. Talk about that all day, every day. So you said you've been running your Coffee Black Whiskey Neat. It's a mouthful. Page since 2019.
19, I believe.
Okay.
Don't fact check me on that.
I mean, it sounds right. We're going to go with that.
That's right.
So what has been kind of the most challenging piece of running that page, managing it, and kind of how do you navigate that?
I think the hardest part is people's expectations. Okay. Honestly, I think that when you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to everybody's opinion. And truthfully, not having had a plan for this when I started, and it just being sharing a passion, it was kind of eye-opening and not something I was prepared for. And so you kind of have to navigate what you're going to accept people saying to you and what you're going to brush off. And, you know, the amount of people that will still say you don't drink whiskey because you're a woman, you're like, okay, I'm just banging my head on the wall here. Then, you know, I mean, at what point do we move past that? So I think, you know, just kind of learning how to deal with what people are saying about you, just as any person has to deal with in any field, is a hard aspect of it. And then I think it's a time commitment, you know. This is something that I do because I really enjoy it, but it is not my life by any means. You know, obviously my family is my world and where I spend all of my time. And so this is a hobby and this is a side piece for me. And it's super nice to be able to have it and have a creative outlet for it, but it's not everything. So trying to meet the demands sometimes, or like I said, the expectations that people have of you is something that is challenging. You know, some days you're not going to post. You're not going to respond to people's comments. You're not going to respond to DMs. And it's not because I don't want to interact with people. I love interacting with people. That's why I got on there in the first place. But life comes first.
Right.
You know,
it can wait. Like those DMs will be there, and that's
and this is not all of life.
Yes, and social media is not all. You know, like you said, it's always not what it seems too. Yes. Like there's more. It's not just like snapping the photo and putting it up. It takes time to film those things, and so it's not easy by any means to keep up with.
You know, you do have to put time and effort into it. It is not just like, okay, well, I just randomly snapped a picture of a bottle and posted it up there, you know.
Yeah.
There are hours that you're spending either editing or picking music or taking the photos, writing the reviews, you know, commenting to people, interacting with people. Like, it is a full time commitment there.
Yeah, it's a creative process for sure.
Yeah.
So if you had any advice to give to somebody who was just trying to get into whiskey or just kind of wanted to, whether it's cocktails or drinking neat or just kind of giving it a go into the industry, what would you say to them?
Don't get overwhelmed.
Okay.
That's my best piece of advice. I think there are so many options, especially when it comes to even just bourbon. Like, if you just set yourself on just bourbon and you walk into a liquor store, it's overwhelming, right? The amount of choices. And there are so many hyped up bottles and so many hyped up brands. Don't go for most expensive, most rare, highest age statement, highest proof. You know, just start somewhere. Pick a bottle or go to a bar and order one pour, and it should never be the most expensive, and just get your feet wet with it. Like, just kind of learn what you like over time. But, I mean, I started with a cabinet in my kitchen that never held more than 5 bottles at a time. And here we are.
Here we are, a few years later. Speaking of your setup at home, you have a beautiful whiskey bar.
Thank you.
Where yes, of course, where you film a lot of your content. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, when was the time that you're like, we need more space? What did that look like? And who built that for you?
I built it.
Of course you did. That's incredible.
I have a love for building now, but to be perfectly honest, we bought this house and that we currently are in, and the front room is an office. And it started out with, okay, this is gonna be my craft space. I was really into DIY crafting for like kids' birthday parties, for my kids specifically, obviously, and holiday decorations for them and things like that. And so I dove in head first and I got all this furniture for it. And then COVID hit. And all of a sudden it was my husband's home office. And so all my craft stuff got pushed to the side. And then we started building out more bottles, just like personally, but even before Instagram, we had a rule before that was never more than 5 bottles because that was the space we had. And it overtook that cabinet pretty quickly. And then Instagram came and it overtook it even faster. Mm-hmm. And so I went to him and I said, I want to build a bourbon bar. And my husband looked at me like I was the craziest person on earth because I had 0 building experience and I had never drawn this thing out, and it was just all in my head. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And he was like, is this actually possible for you? Are you sure? I said, just trust me. And so I don't think he went into the office for the 2 weeks that I was doing this.
That's 2 weeks.
And
that's impressive.
Said, just trust me. And a lot of DIY videos and a lot of phone a friend came into play. And and now I love building, and it has become such a huge passion of mine. And I think I've built like 60% of the furniture in my house now.
Wow.
Just because it's fun. Like, I don't post any of that. I just enjoy it. And it was a really cool starting point to say that this Instagram page forced me to learn that. And now not only do I have the creative outlet of whiskey, but I also have this other creative outlet that I just get to have to myself.
Wow. That's incredible. I didn't know that you built that yourself.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think you could.
No.
You're like, hold my Glencairn, I'm going to go build a really sweet bar. That's awesome.
Luckily, he trusted me, and it turned out okay. I was a little bit nervous for a little while. We were a little unsure on how that was going to actually come out, but it worked.
It worked out.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, with your page, and as you've kind of progressed and gained this community, have you made any new friends that you would find memorable, or been to any new places that you may have not have been otherwise because
here.
of your page? Well, here first. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I feel like that's kind of the obvious answer. I've been here now. But no, I think that there are so many cool people in this space and so many people that are super generous, and it's not even that, you're there trying to make lifelong friends even, right? It's somebody that you have just met or you've never met. I was in Kentucky for one of our very first trips, and I got a text from somebody that just said, hey, we want to meet up at a bar. And I said, well, text me the address. I'll see if we can make it. We had been at a bunch of different distilleries that day. And I show up, and he said, this is my friend so-and-so, and this is his wife, and she made you dinner, and we're going to go downstairs, and this is their home bar. Sounds like a scary movie. I'm not saying you should trust this, but they were the nicest people. And, we sat out at their house, and we smoked cigars on the back porch, and we were there till like 2 a.m.
Wow.
Just enjoying it, And I think that's what's unique about this community is people don't sit there and say, I spent $200 on this bottle. It's just, what do you want to try? What do you like? You didn't like that one? Okay, you don't need to drink it. Here's another one. It's just being generous in the sense that they're sharing their time with you.
Okay.
It's not about, if you pour me a $20 bottle, fantastic, right? Like, I want to find more budget-proof pours. So I'm never being like, I need the most expensive bottle. It's just about somebody wanting to spend time with you. And for me, the whole reason that I started this hobby was because my husband loved whiskey, and he had a huge passion for it, and his was Scotch to begin with. But I learned when you can't beat them, you join them real fast. And so I wanted to learn as much as I could to share the hobby with him. And so now when we do reviews, I'll sit down and I'll film my review, and then we'll sit down and we'll just enjoy it, and we'll talk about, what do you like about it? What do I like about it? Do I like it more than you? Maybe we'll pour a blind flight together. It's become like date night ideas even. And it's just something that you get to share with so many people, and that to me is invaluable.
Oh yeah, that's special in itself. And I'm sure you've met so many people too that you never thought. I mean, you're here in Weston, Missouri,
Yes.
Danielle. Who would have thought?
Never thought I would be in Weston, Missouri, which I had never heard of before, and here we are.
So
had to do some Googling.
Yes, had to check Google Maps there. So yeah, what did you think? I guess when we first reached out, were you like a Missouri bourbon? Who were these people?
Well, I think everybody has that moment when they first start drinking bourbon that says, it's not from Kentucky, it's not good, right? Yeah. Everybody has that moment. And you can tell me you've never had that moment. I promise you've had that moment. But I think there are so many different places that are doing it. So when you guys reached out, I was like, I've never heard of Missouri bourbon. Of course I want to try it, right?
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want that opportunity? Who doesn't want to see what else is out there? If you tell me that you're making Hawaiian bourbon, which I don't think anybody can do, but cool if you are, it's like you want to try as many things as you can, and you want to share as much as you can. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I can't physically deliver bottles to people on the internet. If you could, that'd be cool. But if I can share, hey, Missouri is doing something really cool, you should check them out. Why wouldn't I share that knowledge?
Well, we appreciate that because we have gotten people, that say, "Oh, you're from Missouri," like the exact same thing as what you just said. And so, yeah, thanks for giving us a try. We appreciate that, taking a
You
chance.
lived up to it, so
Thank you.
There you go.
We appreciate that. Well, I do have one final question for you. This is something I always ask all of our holiday happy hour guests. I know you're not a cocktail person.
Okay.
But if you were to choose like your trash cocktail, I always use the word trash. It's probably not appropriate.
All it makes me think of is like when you eat a sandwich that has chicken fingers and French fries, and then
Yes.
those sandwiches people eat in college.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
all
exactly.
I think of.
And
Sorry,
it's
go
like
on.
a guilty pleasure,
Okay.
like if you were just gonna on like a nice day, just what were you going to go sit by the pool or wherever? If it's not a craft cocktail menu, like not one of Brendan's fabulous cocktails at the Welcome Center, like
Which
what are you gonna
really
order?
Good. Yeah.
Shout
Which
out to
are really
Brendan.
good. I had that Devil's one.
Yeah.
Yes, that was really good. And I generally don't like cocktails, so that tells you right there.
Yeah.
Okay, trash cocktail. I'm either going one or two ways.
Okay.
I love a strawberry milkshake.
With booze?
I
Or
don't
no?
know. I've never had it with booze, so I kind of want to try
Tequila
it now,
Rose.
right? Like, I love strawberry milkshakes. Or guilty pleasure, when I used to not be into bourbon like this, I would order a whiskey sour.
Okay.
And so I have all these memories of going to casinos with my mom and ordering the cheapest whiskey sours, because at a casino it's free, so you only had to tip $1, right? So it cost you $1 for this drink. And, you would order it with like a handle of Canadian Mist and bottled sour mix. You wanted a trash cocktail.
Let's
right?
go. Yep.
That is what I used to drink. So I don't think I could even choke one down now, but you know what? It got us to where we are.
Right. Nostalgia. We'll
So,
take it.
There you go.
That's a great answer. I like that.
I don't recommend
Well,
drinking that.
Well, after this, we'll try to get you some other cocktails,
Yeah.
even though I know you're just a neat kind of gal, but good to know. I'll remember you. Next time somebody orders a whiskey sour, I'm going to be like, Danielle.
Just dump that handle of Canadian Mist in there. There you go.
What a night. What a night that would be. Well, it's been so fun having you here.
Yes,
I'm excited
thank
to
you.
show you around a little more and see what you think. But
I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah.
This town is really cool. So I appreciate y'all sharing it with me. And these are all great. Specifically, the Toasted Sweet
yes.
is a good recommendation. If anybody has a chance to try that, then I recommend that.
Oh, awesome. See, we love to hear the good feedback. It's not just us. It's
No,
not just us, but-
it's
okay.
not just you.
Okay. Well, it's been great.
Thank you for having
Cheers.
me. Cheers.
Holladay Happy Hour is a production of the Holladay Distillery, Weston, Missouri. Drink responsibly, drive responsibly.